back to the subject of reaction. The degree of your faith is not shown in your library, nor in your doctrines, but in this single thing, your reaction when the headlines thicken and the talking voices roar. When the screen flashes red and the world says danger, you discover what you are trusting. If your heart runs with the images, you are trusting the images. If your heart rests, you are trusting the invisible. Let not your heart be troubled, said the Master. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. Do you see? Faith is not a sentiment. It is a quiet that does not change when the picture changes. Now, the common morning impulse is this: to grab for prayer the way we grab for a fire extinguisher to make the war stop, the storm shift, the market rise, the person behave. We hurry to say, God, change this. All right, but I tell you, don't react to the appearance as power. The moment you make the appearance your adversary, you have granted it a life it does not possess. Judge not according to the appearance, time, but judge righteous judgment. What is righteous judgment? That there is one, and that the one is not threatened by twos or tens or the million screaming of a frightened world. You see, appearances can be loud, global, unanimous. They can have experts, charts, and statistics. They can agree together and print their agreement on every page in every language. And yet, that does not endow them with spiritual authority. Authority is not in the voice that shouts. Authority is in the presence, that is. You and I yield authority by consenting inwardly, by saying in the secret heart, yes, you are power over me. That is the theft of peace, not the headline, but the consent. The world cannot steal your peace unless you react to the appearance as power. All right. Then what are we doing here? We are not going to teach you better pleading. We are going to introduce a prayer that begins as petition and matures into listening, and then into a stillness in which peace is not requested but realized. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, not as the world gives, you see. The world gives a peace that is counted by outcomes, by today's figures and tonight's tally. Christ's peace is counted by non-reaction. It is presence recognized regardless of the score. Now, if we can stop granting power to what we're seeing, something else can be heard. If, at the first surge of alarm, we refuse to worship the image, yes, worship, for fear is inverted worship, then a hush appears where fear had its theater. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and watch for a changed scene. Be still and know. The knowing ends the bargaining. The knowing ends the panic. The knowing is the discovery that the only life present is God life, and the only mind present is God mind, though we shall not try to define God, for nobody by taking thought can contact God. We will not prop the nerves with concepts. We will stand still long enough to feel the isness behind the noise. Do you see that we are not denying the picture? We are denying its authority. We are not closing our eyes. We are closing our consent. The middle path is neither to fear, love, nor hate any appearance, but to rest in the one that does not react. There, reaction drops away like a robe at bedside, and the day begins not with strategy, but with presence. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Let us stay there long enough for the staying to become our measure, and our measure to become our peace. Now we come to the first discipline. Do not enter the case humanly. You know what I mean by the case, because by breakfast you have already been invited into 3 or 4. Your device glows. The scroll begins. The experts argue. and you feel the compulsion to join the tribunal in your head, to take sides, to forecast, to rehearse outcomes, to appoint yourself counsel for the defense or prosecution. That is entering the case. Doom scrolling is entering the case. Arguing with the radio is entering the case. Whispering human advice to your own heart, now this must go this way and that must not happen, is entering the case. And peace begins the instant you refuse to handle the world's danger with a human mind. Cease ye from man, whose breath is in his nostrils, says Isaiah. And again, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. All right, stand still means do not run mentally to plead, fix, condemn, or secure. It means withdraw the worship of your attention from the moving picture. Never enter the case humanly. Never permit yourself to give human advice inwardly. Never desire to change appearances. Do you see the cadence of that? It is not cruelty. It is consecration. The moment you desire to change appearance, you have conferred reality upon it and set yourself to wrestle a phantom you have first crowned. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is not the judgment that makes your side win. It is the judgment that refuses sides. It says, there is one, and I will not enthrone a second power by anxiety or by eagerness. Now, this restraint is easily misunderstood by the zeal of our affection. You say, but I must care. I must do something. And I say, of course you must care. And in time you will be shown what to do. Only this, do not care humanly. Do not do humanly. This is not indifference, not passivity, not denial. This is the withdrawal of worship. Fear is inverted worship. Anger is inverted worship. Even sentimental hope, when it fastens to a pictured outcome, is a shy form of worship. We are not closing our eyes to suffering. We are closing our consent to its authority. We withhold our panic, but not our compassion. We relinquish our meddling and keep our availability. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. That is not a formula. It is a posture. We are on the middle path when we neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance. The middle path refuses applause for evil's downfall and refuses tears for good's triumph, because both are still reactions to pictures. The Master said to Peter, put up thy sword into the sheath, and to the storm, peace, be still. Both instructions are one practice. Sheath the human instrument. Be still in God. Neither defend nor attack the image. Do not love the image of solution. Do not hate the image of danger, and do not fear either. Meet it with spiritual poise, the poise that says, I have no side to take, no outcome to secure, only a presence to recognize. And in that recognition, whatever needs to be said or done will be given you in the hour, not manufactured by the mind beforehand. Let me tell you, last winter, a young mother wrote from Chicago, I wake at 4 and I scroll disasters until 6. I call it staying informed. I answered, you are not informed. You are conformed. Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Your first renewal is sacred restraint. Before the device, before the forecast, sit 3 minutes with no plan, no plea, no side. Say within yourself, Father, glorify thyself and be still. A week later, the letter came again. The headlines did not cease, but I ceased entering the case, and the house became quiet. Do you see? The scene had not yet altered, but she had ceased paying homage to it. In that hush, the first light appears. And here is the bridge to all our further work. The moment you stop entering the case, you make the first opening for God contact. Nobody, by taking thought, can contact God. Nobody, by pleading, can pry open the door. But the instant you practice sacred restraint, there is the split second in which the inner storm falls to a hush. And in that hush, the still small voice is audible. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and think. Not be still and scheme. Not be still and bargain. Be still and know. That knowing is not a thought. It is present. And once presence is felt, it governs the day without your help. Now, let us keep this first discipline clean. Never enter the case humanly. Never counsel the scene inwardly. Never desire to change appearances. Withdraw the worship. Take the middle path. And let the first silence find you. From there, everything meaningful begins. Now, as we step from that first hush into the wide field of the day, look out and see how the banners fly. Nations, parties, ideologies, online tribes, each one blowing its horn and waving its colors and demanding your outrage as proof of loyalty. If you are silent, they say, you are with the enemy. And the other side says the same, and the third side invents a new enemy for tomorrow. Do you see the theater? Each voice is not merely asking for your opinion. It is after your fear, your anger, your worship. And I say to you, never give it. Do not take a side. Do not make a side. We are not dealing with a good side and a bad side. We are dealing with a universal belief presenting as personalities and groups. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, wrote Paul, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. All right? If it is not flesh and blood, then you will not meet it with flesh and blood reactions. Principle over personalities, this is the core practice. You are not sent into the fray to crown heroes and denounce villains. You are sent to refuse the whole argument that there are two powers at war. There is one. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. The moment you take a human side, you enthrone a second, and there goes your peace. If you must stand anywhere, stand where Christ stands. And Christ's stand is not a team. It is identity. There is neither Jew nor Greek, bond nor free, male nor female, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus. Christ is the only identity. Therefore, we refuse to grant any group a divine right to be our enemy or our savior. God is not on your side. God is God. Do you see? The holy does not enter our campaigns. We enter the holy. And in that entering, sides fade and principle becomes audible. I remember a call from a city where labor and management had torn the weak to shreds. The organizer pressed, "Pray that we win." The owner wrote, "Pray that we break them." I answered both the same. I will not pray for your side. I will sit until I can feel that there is one life being lived as both of you, one mind appearing as all hands and all plans, and when I hear, I will say what I am told to say. Hours later, a single sentence formed, "Cease ye from man." Not a tactic, a posture. The next day, some compromise, better than before, worse than a dream, was inked. But the fruit I watched for was not the ink. It was the hush that entered both houses. Do you see the point? Your spiritual effectiveness is measured by your non-reaction and your allegiance to principle, not by the scoreboard. If the one that engaged you wants to lose, that is his business. Your business is to bring the spiritual activity to bear, not even to the side that hired you. Now, how do we do this in practice when the online drums are beating? Bless without endorsing, pray without taking outcomes, love without joining the mental battlefield. You open the feed, and before one word is read, you say within yourself, Father, glorify thyself as all concerned. I bless every face and name that appears. I withhold my sword and my applause. I am not here to win. I am here to witness thy peace. Then you listen. No statements, no sides. If something must be written or said, it will be given you in the hour, and it will not carry the smell of triumph or the sting of defeat. It will carry quiet. You say, but surely one side is more right. Perhaps in the scales of men, yes. But do not forget, even rightness can become an idol when it steals your peace. Put up thy sword into the sheath. Put up the sword of opinion. Put up the sword of outrage. Put up the sword of anxious agreement with your own tribe. The Master said, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you. Now that is not sentimental advice, it is metaphysical alignment. You cannot love an enemy you have first endowed with substance as evil. But if Christ is the only identity, the enemy concept dissolves, and what remains is a neighbor to be blessed and a universal belief to be unmasked. When personalities fade, even your own principle becomes audible. The prayer that was emotional effort becomes simple alignment. It is no longer, God, make them lose, make us win. It is, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, and the heart that speaks it has already sheathed the sword. In that surrender, the storm within abates, and to that quiet heart the Christ says, be not afraid, it is I. Then, if a step is to be taken, it is taken from peace, not into war. And if silence is the step, it is kept with dignity. This is steadiness. This is how we live in a frightened world without being drafted into its terror, by our allegiance to the one, by our refusal to make or take a side, and by our willingness to let God have its perfect work, unhurried, impartial, and sure. Now, let us take one step deeper and look at the root that makes the world's pictures feel so convincing. This has nothing to do with that person, nor with this party, nor with your history, nor with your temperament. This is a universal belief, the fear of contagion, the spell of panic, the inherited assumptions about violence, scarcity, and fate. These are not personal possessions. They are the atmosphere of a world that believes in two powers. And hear me, a belief, however unanimous, is not a law. I am the Lord, and there is none else. There is no God beside me. If there is none beside, then there is no second law to endanger, to infect, to impoverish, or to doom. Do you see that? The crowd can agree. The chart can curve. The calendar can label a season. But agreement is not authority, and season is not law. What, then, is universal belief? It is the mesmeric suggestion that because many say it, it must be so. It whispers, it's flu season, expect it. It hisses, markets always crash after heights, brace yourself. It mutters, history repeats, violence is inevitable. It even dresses itself in piety. We must suffer our fate. This is our cross. All right, but listen carefully. A suggestion, even when shouted by millions, does not become a principle. The law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus hath made me free from the law of sin and death. There is only one law, one life, one selfhood. Universal belief claims law, then deny it lawfully. It has no law to support it. Now, do not mistake this for hardness. Compassion and hypnotism are not the same. We can care deeply, and we must. We can weep with those who weep. We can bring bread to the hungry and bandage to the wounded. But we cannot, must not accept the suggestion that evil is power. The moment we accept the power of evil, our compassion becomes sentimental fear, and fear is inverted worship. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. You see, compassion aligned with principle says, I refuse to enthrone a second law even while I sit at your bedside. I will hold you in the one life, and I will not explain you to a false law. Sometimes the suggestion surges at 4 a.m, no face to fight, only a wave. Do not hunt the culprit. This has nothing to do with a person. It is a universal belief presenting itself to be worshipped by your consent. Withdraw the consent. Right there, quietly, you can speak a simple nullification, not as magic, but as posture. Right now, I nullify any seeming effect from universal belief on me, on my household, on the nations. Say it without strain. Say it without drama. Then be still. You are not opposing a power. You are refusing to imagine a second law. I have sat with mothers who feared every cough because the season had been named, with workers who counted their end before their work began because the pundits had set a fate, with elders who watched the evening violence report as if it were a sacrament. Each time, the turn came when we could say together, this has nothing to do with this body, this wallet, this street. This is a universal belief. It is not law. It is not power. And in that impersonal seeing, the heart stops striving. Do you see the grace of that? You drop the personal battle and you no longer take sides in your own body, your own bank, your own city. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. The condemning is not of people, it is the denial of false law, the refusal to ratify a tongue of suggestion. We are on the middle path when we neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance, including the appearance of mass agreement. There is a quiet courage in this, not to fight the wave, not to surf the wave, but to stand and let it break at your feet while you listen within. And there is the bridge. Once you have recognized the belief as impersonal and lawless, the need to argue, plead, and calculate falls away. You can begin to listen. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and check symptoms. Not be still and refresh the feed. Be still and know. In that knowing, threat is not defeated. It is dissolved into nothingness because it never had law in the one. From there, compassion can act without fear, and wisdom can move without haste. Now we are ready to hear what cannot be heard while we are wrestling a phantom. Now we are ready for the hush in which presence announces itself as peace. Now we must do the hardest thing for religious people to do. Take God out of our plans. Don't turn to God for anything. That is the shock. But aren't we to pray, you ask? All right, but hear me before you run. The moment God becomes a means to an end, fear remains the master and you remain the servant of the picture. You have simply dressed fear in a robe and handed it a hymn book. God used as a tool is not God, it is an idol. Little children, keep yourselves from idols. An idol is not merely a statue. It is any concept employed to control outcomes. Do you see that? The bargain is hidden, but it is there. If I say the right words, if I think the truth hard enough, I can make the storm pass over my house while it floods the neighbors. That is not prayer. That is magic. It is spiritual immaturity. Let me strip it further. God isn't mind. God isn't even soul. Nobody knows what God is. No man hath seen God at any time. And if nobody knows what God is, nobody by taking thought can reach God. Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his stature? If thought cannot add an inch to your height, how shall it tilt the cosmos? Thought has its place in aligning the human instrument, but it does not touch the infinite. We have used theology like levers, affirmation here, denial there, hoping to pry blessing out of a silent sky. And when it appears to work, we secretly say, I have found the formula. If I keep it up, I shall be safe. There is the trap. Safety by formula keeps fear on the throne, because the God you trust is your method, not the presence. You see, the hidden bargain in fear prayer is always the same. If I pray right, I can control outcomes. Then the mind appoints itself treasurer of peace, counting results as proofs and setbacks as failures. And so you spend your days measuring God by today's weather. The Master said, take no thought for your life. And again, your Father knoweth what things ye have need of. If the Father knows, why all this managing? Because we have mistaken prayer for management. We have knelt with clipboards. We have begged the holy to sign our contract. And when we say, thy will be done, we often mean, do my will, but quicker. Now here is the reframe that breaks the spell. Prayer is not to get peace. Prayer is the consent to the peace that already is the nature of God's presence. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, not as the world gives, counted by victories and insurance and forecasts, but as presence gives, counted by non-reaction, by a hush within that does not depend on scenes. When God ceases to be a means, fear loses its argument, because there is no longer a campaign to win or lose. There is only the recognition of what is, and out of that recognition, whatever needs to be said or done arises in its hour. Does petition have a place? Of course. Petition is a beginning rung on the ladder for a frightened heart. It turns to face Godward. A child cries, help, and the Father hears. But the healing click, the inner shift where fear exhausts its claim, does not come by better wording. It comes in the split second when the petition falls from your hands and you stop managing. There, without any plan, a stillness enters the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. You did not achieve it. You consented to it by ceasing to bargain. A father once wrote, pray that my son return safely tonight. I said, I will sit, but I shall not use God to bring him home. I shall rest until I can feel that there is only one life, indivisible being, itself as your son, as the road, as the night, as you. And in that recognition, I will keep silence. He thought me cold until later the call came. The boy had walked in. Nothing dramatic, just a door opening in peace. Do you see? We did not bend events. We refused to enthrone a second power. And in that refusal, fear's story lost its audience. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Seeking first is not a technique to get the addition. It is the end of techniques. It is the awareness that the kingdom is here, that presence is the life of all that appears, and that our safety is not in outcomes, but in oneness. So stop using God. Stop reaching with thought. Let the words that begin your prayer be honored as steps, yes, but descend swiftly into silence, where no bargain remains, and where fear can find nothing to argue with, because there is nothing left to manage. There, the spell is broken. There, God is not an object, and you are not a manager. You are the place where peace is felt as what is. Now, let us bring this home into the first light of the day. Before the device glows, before you step into rooms full of voices, take the ladder of morning prayer. Not to manage, not to get, not to brace yourself, but to find the split second where all managing ceases and presence is felt as peace. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father, which is in secret. All right? Shut the door does not mean lock a piece of wood. It means close the traffic of the mind, if only for a moment, and come to the inner room where you are not the manager, not the fixer, not even a seeker. You are an opening. Step 1, orientation. Acknowledge the noise without bowing to it. Name it, but refuse it authority. Quietly, without drama, say within yourself, I see the appearance and I refuse it authority. That is all. Do not add because statistics are wrong or because I have a better argument. No, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is this posture. I consent to one. There is one. I will not worship a second power by fear or fascination. You see how simple that is? You are not denying the picture. You are withdrawing your consent to its throne. Let that sentence be a doorway, not a speech. Step 2, non-reaction. Breathe, and as you breathe, withdraw the mind's commentary. Let the whispering tribunal disperse. Say again without strain, I am not a reactor. I am available to God. Do you feel the difference? The body may still hum. Let it. Thoughts may still offer headlines. Let them pass as if the window were open and the street were not your living room. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Confidence in what? Not in your capacity to hold still, not in your virtue about news confidence that there is a presence here that never trembles, and you will let it be your atmosphere. Stay with the breath, not as a technique to force calm, but as a simple way of refusing to join the parade. Step 3 principle. Affirm only what is spiritually true, without argument, without embroidery. A few sentences, no more. There is one presence here. There is one power, not two. There is one, life being itself as all life. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Say it and do not defend it. This is not a shield you hold up against a storm. It is the acknowledgement that there is a sea under every wave, and the sea is calm. These are not magic words. They are signposts pointing away from the street and toward the sanctuary. Step 4, the click. Now stop. No more statements. No more managing. Insist gently on the necessity of silence. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Let the earth of your thoughts keep silence. Fasting begins here, not from food, but from taking thought. If a worry nudges, do not answer. If a bright idea waves its hand, do not employ it. Wait as one who expects God. not as one who demands a feeling. The click is not fireworks. Often it is no more than this. The compulsion to add one more sentence fades, a lightness where the weight was, a sense that somebody else is here and you need not help. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. You will not understand it, you will recognize it. Let the pacing be honest. 3 or 4 quiet breaths to begin. A handful of clear sentences for principle. Then 10 seconds, yes. Begin with 10 in which you refuse to do anything for God. If 10 seconds open into 20, let it. If the click comes at second 3, do not chase more. If it does not come, do not scold the morning. Do not measure your prayer by warmth, by tears, or by a sudden solution. Measure it by this single thing. Did you, even for a heartbeat, stop managing? If so, you have entered the closet. The Father is found in secret. The day is already different, though the paper has not yet been read. Be still and know that I am God. Be still first. Knowing is given next. Climb the ladder as far as you can without strain. Orientation. I refuse the picture's authority. Non-reaction. I am not a reactor. I am available to God. Principle. There is one presence here. Silence. The click, no more words. Then rise and wash your face. Let the hush go with you into the hall, into the headlines, into the small talk. Do not seek to hold it. Simply refuse to manage, and you will find it holding you. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Stay, even for a moment, and the staying will deepen itself. The prayer that ends fear is not better wording. It is the moment you enter silence and stop managing. In that moment, the world may shout, but the shout has lost its throne. Now, in that hush, we have been practicing. Listen to the oldest scene in our book, the night sea, the wind contrary, the boat laboring, and fear making phantoms of everything on the water. The disciples cried out when they saw the figure approaching. The appearance said, danger. The nerves said, ghost. The sea said, you are at the mercy of forces. Then a voice, not raised but sovereign, answered the whole theater. It is I. Be not afraid. Do you see? The storm is the appearance. The it is I is the reality. The only authority in that story is the presence naming itself. Waves do not carry authority. Fear does not confer law. Only the I am does. Before Abraham was, I am. When that I speaks, appearances lose their throne, not because something external has been rearranged, but because the one has been recognized where the many were supposed to be. Now, do not wait for words. Most of the time, you will not hear a sentence. You will know a cessation. The inner argument runs out of breath. The need to be reassured by signs weakens. Warmth is one way it comes. Yes, a sudden steadiness is another. Often it is no more than this. Non-reaction returns of itself, and the mind, which a moment ago was interrogating God for proof, goes quiet without winning its case. That is the Christ in the storm. The Master did not promise, you will hear syllables. He said, my sheep hear my voice. Voice here is not sound, but nature the peace. That is the nature of God. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, not by forecast, not by insurance, not by better odds, but by presence felt as what is. When that peace arrives, even as a small, clear space, you will know it because you stop needing the sea to flatten before you trust the boat. So, let us practice in the simplest way. Now, let's not talk to God, let's let God speak. Even if only as peace. Take the picture that shouts, yes, that one, and refuse to enter its courtroom. Say within, it is only an appearance. Thou alone art. Then close the lips of thought. Hush. Do not manufacture a holiness. Do not search the body for sensation. Wait without bargain 10 seconds, 20 if they are given. If in that waiting the breath lengthens and something in you puts down its sword, that is the voice. If nothing is felt, do not accuse the silence, remain willing and rise gently. The Spirit is faithful to its own timing. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. How will you recognize that you have truly heard? 3 simple signs. First, the mind stops demanding proof. It no longer scans for weather reports to validate God. Second, the nervous push to fix, to phone, to post, to argue, eases. You can act, but you no longer have to. Third, non-reaction, our old friend, returns as naturally as breath. You neither fear, love, nor hate the report. If those signs are present, even faintly, cherish them. Do not inflate them. Carry them. If they are not, do not force a result. Keep the consent alive and go on with your hour. From this hearing, you can face news and duties without surrendering your inner government. You read the headline, and underneath it is the undertone. It is I. You answer the email, and behind the words is the quiet. It is I. You step into the meeting, the ward, the classroom, and while the scene has its pace, the center does not move. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Not after the enemies are gone. In their presence there is a table sustenance in the very place that tried to frighten you. That is what the voice does. It does not always remove the storm immediately. It removes the storm's right to define you. If an action is to be taken, you will know it without adrenaline. If silence is the holier act, you will keep it without guilt. And if nothing changes at once, you will not measure the day by surface. Be not afraid. Do not lend your consent to a second power, not even a dramatic one. It is I. Let that be the government of your inner life. Then the boat, however tossed, has a captain, and the night, however long, is no adversary. It is merely the hour in which the voice becomes audible to hearts that have learned to keep silence before God. Now, there is a class of fear that does not yield to your quick statements or to your bright ideas. You have noticed it. It returns at noon after you have prayed at 8. It wakes you at 4, though you went to bed with Scripture. This is what the Master named when he said, "This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting." This kind, let's be plain, is chronic anxiety, the itch to check the feed again, the righteous fury that secretly needs an enemy to stay alive, the compulsion to predict catastrophe so you can say you were ready. Do you see it? It eats opinions for breakfast and demands proof for supper. It wears a robe and calls itself vigilance. It is not vigilance. It is mental warfare, wearing your name tag. What is fasting for this? Not hunger strike holiness, not heroic deprivation to impress heaven. Fasting, in our way, is abstinence from the food that keeps fear fat. Opinions, rehearsals, scorekeeping, spiritual bragging, the need to be right, the need to be first to know, the urge to refute, to correct, to warn, to win. Fasting is the refusal to feed the ghost with attention. Cease ye from man, whose breath is in his nostrils. All right, cease from the man in your head and the chorus on your screen. Stop reacting. Stop explaining. Stop taking sides inwardly. Stop demanding signs. Be still. You say, but if I do not answer the thought, it will get stronger. No, it fattens by debate. Resist not evil. Do not arm wrestle a shadow. Fasting is not passivity. It is precise refusal to confer substance. You neither fear, love, nor hate the appearance. You let it pass unfed. That is your discipline, and it is a discipline. This kind has learned to feed on your righteous speeches and your clever rebuttals. Withdraw the banquet. Let me give you the simple rule. For a day when this kind prowls, at the top of each hour, for 60 seconds, fast absolutely. No scrolling, no updating, no inner argument, no reaching for words. Sit. Say once, there is one presence here. Then keep silence. When the minute closes, bless the next face or headline you must meet. Father, glorify thyself as all concerned. That is all. Do not add a sermon. If you must read the news, read it in a set window. Then close the gate. If a discussion is unavoidable, enter after your minute of fasting and leave without the last word. If the itch to check returns at 20 past, let it pass. You are fasting from the need to be fed by fear. You see how this works? When the mind stops feeding fear, divine timing becomes possible. Fruit ripens without force. The earth bringeth forth fruit of herself. First the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn in the ear. You cannot hurry the blade into an ear. You can stop trampling the field. Prayer is the willingness to let the inner weather settle while God has its perfect work. Fasting is the restraint that keeps you from stirring up the dust with commentary. I have watched a man who could not stop forecasting his ruin. Every conversation curved back to doom. Every silence he filled with odds and angles. We said a quiet fast. 3 windows, morning, noon, and night. 5 minutes each. Nothing said after the first acknowledgement of one. No proofs, no plans, no bargaining. He hated it for a week. There was nothing to chew. On the 8th day, he wrote, "The urge to warn the room is not so loud." That was all. No miracle story. But 2 weeks later, he said, "I forgot to check the markets until lunch. Do you see the miracle? The appetite was thinning." This kind was going out not by argument, not by victory lap, but by the absence of food. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Stand still inwardly. The hands may work, the feet may walk, but the judge and the pundit and the prophet of doom must keep silent before him. The imperatives are simple. Let them be your drumbeat today. Stop reacting. Stop explaining. Stop taking sides inwardly. Stop demanding signs. Be still. If you fail by 9, begin again at 10. Don't look at your demonstration day by day. Let maturity bring to light. And when the quiet opens, even as a slit of sky, do not rush to use it. Rest in it. This kind knows nothing of that rest. It cannot breathe in that air. Without your warfare, it has no meal, no megaphone, no stage. It dissolves not because you outshouted it, but because you starved it. And in the famine of your silence, another voice is heard, the peace that keeps without needing you to keep it. Now, having starved the ghost of our reaction, Let us refuse the next temptation result watching. Don't judge your demonstration day by day. Peace is not a mood report. Let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. All right? Patience is not delay. Patience is consent. Consent to what? To the fact that spiritual activity matures beneath the surface while the world tallies points and forecasts. If you put the seed in the ground and then dig it up each morning to see how it is doing, you have not planted, you have harassed. The earth bringeth forth fruit of herself. First the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn in the ear. You see? Of herself. Your function is not to hurry the ear. It is to stop trampling the field with inspection. I know how the mind bargains. I felt quiet at 7. Why was there a pang at 8? Because you turned the prayer into a weather vane. Peace is not a breeze that proves God. Peace is the nature of God recognized, and it does not submit to your hourly grading. Don't look at your demonstration day by day. Don't count the inches. Don't appoint yourself timekeeper to the infinite. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Waiting here is not staring at a clock. It is refusing to run ahead with outcomes. It is the middle path again. Neither fear, love, nor hate the report. Neither hurry nor hinder the ripening. Now, in a frightened world, everyone asks, which side are you on? Principle has no sides. Our interest is never, may this team or that policy win. Not even the side that engaged you. Our sole concern is that spiritual activity appear as justice where heat demanded punishment, as wisdom where noise demanded speed, as restraint where ego demanded a show, as protection where panic demanded force. If spiritual harmony arrives by an outcome that surprises you, let it. If it arrives by a door closing that you would have propped open, let it. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment says, I will not enthrone a result. I will consent to the emergence of the one. Do you think for a minute that Saul of Tarsus heard the word on the Damascus road and walked straight to the podium? No. There were years, yes, years between blinding and apostling. Hidden years in Arabia, in Tarsus, internal unlearning, the loosening of loyalties, the patience of God grinding old zeal into meekness. On the surface, a delay. In truth, the only safe way for that ministry to be born. So with you, you will be tempted to say, nothing is happening. All right, let that sentence fall. And remember, sometimes the deepest movement is the subtraction of appetite, the thinning of the itch to check, the simple ability to face the same headline without a spasm. That is not nothing. That is the blade pushing through where you cannot see. Be not weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap, if we faint not. Fainting here is not falling on the floor. It is slipping back into measuring, campaigning, managing God. Let God have its perfect work. Don't supervise. Don't prod. Don't convert the silence into leverage for a faster harvest. Your practice is steady. Refuse the second power. Keep silence before him. Move when wisdom moves you. Stop when restraint is holy. That is all. The fruit appears in its hour. So now, how shall we walk this into the next headline, the next conversation, the next moment of alarm? In just this way, we will not enter the case humanly. We will not take sides inwardly. We will not count success by today's temperature. We will hold to the principle, one presence, one power, and let that acknowledgement ripen into form without our stopwatch. If a word of justice is needed, we will speak it without hate. If a gesture of care, we will give it without fear. And when the mind reaches to score the play, we will smile and say within, let patience have her perfect work. In that patience, God's work, which is already whole, becomes visible to eyes that no longer blink in terror. Then the day can roar, and you need not. The headlines can flash, and you need not. You are not indifferent. You are governed. And governance, you see, is the only proof of peace worth having peace that waits. And in waiting, proves the presence that cannot be hurried and cannot be delayed. Now we take the hush into traffic. Pray without ceasing does not mean reciting without breathing. It means carrying the inner consent wherever the bell rings. So here is your refusal of fear rule for the day. When the alert comes, buzz, banner, breaking pause. One breath. Recognize the appearance as appearance. Refuse it power. Return to the presence. Then, and only then, act as wisdom moves. 5 motions. Pause, recognize, refuse, return, act. Not a ritual to control outcomes, but a gate to keep fear from governing. You see? Be still and know that I am God. Be still first, even for a heartbeat. Then know. Then go. Make it practical. Phone in one hand, breath in the other. The screen shouts, you do nothing for one breath. Silently, this is an appearance. I refuse it authority. There is one presence, one power, then close the lips of thought. If the click of quiet comes, let it seat you. If no click, do not campaign hold your refusal of fear for 10 seconds and proceed without heat. The difference is everything. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts. Rule means govern. Peace governs, not panic. Now, compassionate boundaries. You may help, vote, serve, protect, do what wisdom gives without entering the case as fear or hatred. Blessed are the peacemakers, not the peace avoiders. Peacemaking may wear a uniform, carry a clipboard, show up at polls in kitchens and hospital wards, but it does not carry enemies in its chest. The line is inward. Never take sides in your heart. Principle over personalities. If spiritual harmony can only be achieved today by a firm no, let it be said, without venom, without the last word. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. All right, keep the door. Say less until the inner quiet is restored. Then let the word arise from peace. No human advice, not even to yourself. Before you forward, post, opine, or console, return to the silence. Let statements come from the click, not from heat. If asked for counsel, wait 10 seconds within yes in the room and see if a word is given or if a hand on the shoulder is truer than a paragraph. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable. What makes them acceptable is their origin. If they spring from management and fear, they are noise. If they rise from hush, a sentence is enough. Practice blessing as you go. No slogans, simple recognition. Christ is the only identity here. Bless quietly the headline's faces, even the so-called enemy. Love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. You are not excusing conduct. You are refusing to confer a second nature. Identity is Christ. Behavior is a confused mask. Acknowledge the Christ, and if protection is required, be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Good. Here is presence active as wisdom and restraint and courage, not naivete. This blessing is your armor. Hatred cannot borrow your hands. Set 2 anchors in the day. First, a morning minute we have already taken. Second, a headline minute whenever the horn sounds worst. The rule, again, pause, recognize, refuse, return act. Whisper once, there is one. Then keep silence. If action is needed, it will be shown in that atmosphere. If silence is holier, you will know it without guilt. And do not audit yourself hour by hour. Keep the drumbeat. Stop reacting. Stop explaining. Stop taking sides inwardly. Be still. As we come to the close, we will take an atomic prayer together, not words multiplied, but words reduced to a spark that opens into longer listening. For now, carry the spark. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Keep it by this refusal of fear rule. Keep it by silence before speech. Keep it by blessing before judgment. Then let the day do what days do. You will not be its prey. The presence that is peace will govern, and in that governance you will find your steps sure, your voice measured, and your courage free of rage. All right, let us finish as we began, not with many words, but with a consecration that removes the throne from appearances. Father, I do not ask to change appearances. I ask to be governed by thee. That is enough to open the door. No bargains, no schedule. Govern me. Govern my seeing, my speech, my steps. Let me not use thee. Let me yield to thee. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet. We are in the closet now, not a room of wood and hinges, but the inner room where the mind lays down its arms and presence is allowed to be what it is. Now the renunciation, the breaking of the fear contract that has kept the ghost in business. Say within, quietly and without performance, I will not purchase safety with reaction. I will not worship outcomes. I will not join the mental battle. I refuse to enthrone a second power. I neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is simple. There is one. I will not bend the knee to a picture, not to odds, not to headlines, not to inner weather. I am available to God. I am not a reactor to the world. Now let the words taper. Soften the breath. Let the shoulders release an inch. Do not help God. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Let the earth of your thought keep silence. 10 seconds begin. No commentary. No inner proof. No last sentence. If a verse rises, let it be still and know that I am God. And then drop even that. Wait without bargaining. If the click comes, a lightness, a cessation, the sense that someone else is here, do not chase it. Rest in it. If nothing notable arrives, remain willing. The Spirit knows its door. In this hush, remember what we have learned. God is not a tool. God is not power to be aimed. Nobody by taking thought can contact God. The prayer that ends fear ends not in heightened emotion, but in the silence where God is felt as peace. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, not as a change of odds, not as a flattened sea, but as a table in the presence of your enemies. Leave the sea to its wind for now. You are consenting to the I that is here before wind, during wind, after wind. Perfect love casteth out fear. Not your love trying hard, but love's own nature recognized in you when you stop managing. All right, one more breath. No reaching, no monitoring. Let the word itself, if any, be this simple. It is I. Be not afraid. Then even that word recedes into the atmosphere it names. Quietly, we seal it. Where I am, thou art. Where thou art, fear is not. Let that be the law of the rest of this hour and of the one after that. Walk as if the hush walked with you, because it does. Say less, see more, bless as you go. If action is required, it will rise cleanly from this well. If restraint is holier, you will know it without guilt. If peace feels small today, a thimble where you hoped for a river, do not condemn yourself. Don't look at your demonstration day by day. Let maturity bring to light. Saul did not preach the morning after the light. You do not harvest an hour after sowing. Return again tomorrow to the same small obedience. Refuse the second power. Enter the silence. Stop managing. The seed knows its work. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. In waiting, the appetite for fear thins. In silence, another government becomes tangible. In patience, form follows principle without your stopwatch. So we end not with a flourish, but with consent. Father, govern. Keep the door of my lips. Keep the door of my heart. Let thy peace rule. I will not purchase safety with reaction. I will not worship outcomes. I will not join the mental battle. I will be still, and I will know. And as I rise, I carry nothing but this. Where I am, thou art. Where thou art, fear is not. Amen.